one of the issues that we hear in Pakistan is that cases don't seem to have an ending, that they linger on though. So has the judicial system, has the police, I mean, have they really been helpful though, or is it an issue that's not so helpful and it's just, I mean, the law's there on paper, but you haven't seen the kind of response that would probably need to take place under forced marriages here in Pakistan?
Well, I think certainly, I mean, forced marriage legislation has been on the statute books here in Pakistan for a long time, as it has in the UK for a long time, but we're still finding forced marriages. So there's still more work to be done, I think it's fair to say that. In terms of the duration of cases, there's typically a clear endpoint for British nationals being forced into marriage, because we will remove them from their situation here in Pakistan and get them back to the UK. What we have seen on occasion in the past is, and I mentioned that sort of hegemonic support structure of the Pakistan family, we have seen forced marriage victims who've gone back to the UK and who have gone through a reconciliation process with their family, because it's very tough for them to survive and to have any kind of quality of life without that family structure. We've then, sadly, in a number of cases in the past, seen those victims being forced into marriage a second time.
You talk about reconciliation and the family coming together to sort of help victims and help families to come out of this kind of a situation where a forced marriage set up. My question is, does the consular services, do they provide sort of orientations or seminars or workshops in this regard to sort of make people and make families more aware of the negative consequences that stem out of forced marriages?
So there are a number of outreach activities that we do, both here in Pakistan and also, importantly, back in the UK that the Forced Marriage Unit works on. We'll go out to community leaders, we'll go out to schools, and we talk about your marriage, your choice message to potential victims of forced marriage. We educate teachers and policemen on how to spot some of the signs of forced marriage. And indeed, we talk to particularly police constabularies about the illegality of forced marriage and things like forced marriage protection orders, some of the legal instruments that we use very regularly these days. Here in Pakistan, we've done quite a lot of sensitivity training with police, engaging on forced marriage, and we've done a lot of training, a lot of working with members of the legal profession here as well around forced marriage.
So you tell me there are wonderful aspects, a lot of partnerships and relationships that are being developed here for this particular purpose. So how reciprocative have the people, the agencies and the seminars or workshops, the families over here, how well have people responded to them? I mean, is it something that they're more hostile to? Is there something that they're more receptive to? How exactly do you view this partnership?
I think the partnership works. I think the partnership works well. I think in general people are very receptive to this, and I would back that viewpoint up by stating that in 2017 compared to 2016 here in Pakistan we've seen a 24% drop in cases of forced marriage. So we are winning the fight. In conjunction with our Pakistani friends and in conjunction with the team back in the UK. The cases are going down. They're not going down quick enough for my taste, but they are going down.
But it's great to hear that there's such progress on an issue that is really a menace to society altogether, though. But while the numbers have been coming down, I mean, not trying to watershed the numbers though, but I'm sure there must be some barriers to entry, as they say, in terms of some kind of struggle against the kind of work that the consular services are doing.
No, indeed, and when we delve into the numbers, one of the unfortunate things we saw last year was about a 58% increase in minors being forced into marriage, so forced marriage victims under the age of 15. Now we're still talking comparatively small numbers. It was about 11 cases last year, but that's still almost one a month. And I think what we're seeing there is the perpetrators of forced marriage who are determined for their own reasons, their own motivations to force one of their family members into marriage are trying to it's easier to control a minor. I think that's what we're seeing now.
But when you say it's easier to control a minor, though, I mean, in the cases that you speak about, is it more so the mother, the father, or the family in general? Or I mean, what are the exact dynamics though, just so that we can sort of get a sense of what kind of marriages take place?
No, indeed. I mean, most forced marriage cases that we see have two constituencies. There's a constituency in the UK side of the family, and the constituency in Pakistan. And they're very often, as I mentioned, sort of intra-family problems. Typically, we will see the forced marriage victim brought to Pakistan under false pretenses, or brought out for a family holiday and just kept in Pakistan. The passport is confiscated, the return ticket is destroyed. They're kept in Pakistan, and then before they know where they are, they're being forced into a marriage they haven't agreed to. It's one of the reasons that we do so much work with school teachers back in the UK, so that the minute somebody doesn't return from a family holiday, they raise the alarm, and we can investigate as to whether or not a forced marriage is.
We'll continue our conversation on forced marriages right after this break.
काश्तकारों की तकलीफ हो या सनतों को दरपेश मसाइल, खुशी के लम्हात हों या दुख की कोई घड़ी, वडेरों का जुल्म हो या किसी अफसर का अताब, ऐवानों में बैठे हुक्मरानों तक पहुंचेगी आपकी हर आवाज। रोही बनेगा आपकी आवाज, इस खित्ते के हर बासी की आवाज। दंगल के ढोल पर फतह का ऐलान, हार जीत से बढ़कर प्रीत का पैगाम, बात सकाफती मेलों की हो या मकामी खेलों की, रोही का हर रंग आपके संग।
So are there similar initiatives that are here in Pakistan, considering that it's a two-shop? I mean, you've got the family in the UK, you've got the family in Pakistan though. I understand, as you mentioned, that there are a lot of alarm bells or areas which people can sort of reach out to in the UK though. What about here in Pakistan though? I mean, if there's a victim, how exactly could he or she, for that matter, reach out to law enforcement agencies or even to the consular services?
So you can call the High Commission. If you're a British national here in Pakistan and you're being forced into a marriage you're not sure about, you can call the High Commission 24 hours a day. You'll be put straight through to a consular officer, and we will deal with your case. We'll do everything we can to get you out of your situation and to get you safely back to the UK. We do other outreach in general, advertising our services. We've had, in conjunction with One World Advertising, a key partner of ours, we've had billboards in the airports. We know from talking to forced marriage victims who've been brought to Pakistan under false pretenses that very often it's at that initial point of arriving at the airport they realise something is wrong. So that's why we put the posters where we did. And indeed, and thanks to that advertising partner, we disrupted a number of forced marriages. So we do outreach. We put up billboards. We advertise our services. We've studied the dynamics quite a lot of the pathway of a forced marriage victim from the airport to the areas with high concentrations of British nationals. We've been distributing leaflets, for example, in the shops that sell wedding supplies, because we know from talking to the victims that they might be there. There are a number of ways that we're trying to get our message across.
As we were speaking about, Prime Minister May has this as a very serious legislation agenda and policy initiative to look after forced marriages and to obviously eradicate as much as possible. Do you think that there's more the Pakistani government can do, or is that there's something that they haven't taken the issue too seriously, or is that there's not enough factor behind this kind of a serious issue that's in our society, unfortunately?
Well, obviously I can't speak on behalf of the Pakistani government.
But in terms of the difficulties you've seen with the Pakistani government?
What I see in my role here as British consul is good engagement with Pakistani government, good engagement with both local officials and with law enforcement on cases involving Britons. Is there more that could be done? I'm sure there is, but then there's more that could be done in every country to tackle forced marriage.
We've been talking significantly about the female aspect and the daughter being a victim. Is that the only case that comes out of forced marriages, or are there also male victims in this arrangement as well?
There are, and it's a really key point. Four cases out of every 5 will be female, but 1 case will be male. We do see a lot of men, young men predominantly, being forced into marriage here.
And what kind of cases are these in particular, though? I mean, are they being brought? I mean, how exactly does the case work, to get a better understanding?
They tend to follow the same modus operandi as the female cases. It tends to be young men brought to Pakistan under false pretenses. The motivations tend to be the same. It tends to be an issue of either an issue of family honor or an issue of family finance. I've seen a number of cases where a young man living in the UK has been deemed by the older generation to maybe be going off the rails, not living a good enough life, and so is brought over to Pakistan to be forced into a marriage due to those kind of motivations. But in terms of the way the forced marriages are perpetrated, they're pretty similar, really, male and female.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and it's fabulous to hear the kind of great work the UK High Commission is doing to sort of help not only its own country and citizens of eradicating this kind of an arrangement from society, but also the kind of work that's been taking place here in Pakistan as well, though. Just to rehash, so how exactly, if there's a victim, though, how exactly in the issue, the area that they can reach out to, because they seem to be the person that needs to be looked after the most in such an arrangement, though. So what exactly can they do to sort of get themselves out of a situation?
So if the victim is in the UK, we're talking about British nationals here, if the victim is in the UK, they can reach out to any number of people. They can speak to a teacher, they can speak to a social worker, they can speak to a trusted police officer. There are a lot of people who will take their case very seriously. They can put them in touch with the forced marriage unit. They can phone the forced marriage unit directly, and we will do absolutely everything in our power to disrupt that forced marriage. If they're here in Pakistan and they have access to a phone and they can safely use that phone, then they can call the High Commission 24 hours a day, and they will be put through to a consular officer who will have a wealth of experience in dealing with forced marriage cases. We dealt with 59 cases last year, 77 cases the year before, so we know what we're doing. But frankly, if there's somebody here in Pakistan and they just get that tiny window to reach out to somebody, as long as they tell someone about that forced marriage, and that someone can get in touch either with us here or us in the UK, we'll be able to help.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ryan, for your time, and hopefully we're obviously not hopeful, but we are very appreciative of the efforts that your department is doing here, and hopefully with the good work that's being undertaken, that the numbers will significantly drop in the months, the years to come up ahead, and we look forward to this kind of unfortunate arrangement coming to an end in Pakistan really soon, though.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.